Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another Dead Air Radio adventure. I'm your host, Steve Fletch, co-host of Dead Air Radio. I swear Mitch exists. We'll get him on here soon. But today I wanted to get into a little segment. I swear, Stereo Skateboards used to be awesome. It's true. It was an amazing company. Even had two, versions of it that were amazing. They even almost pretty much pulled off a comeback. I think they did. And then I don't know what the hell happened, and it, went back down the same way they were at the end of the first run. I think they should be remembered for the two runs, the first, the beginning segment of the brand, and then the rebirth of the brand, in the 2000s. Really cool to see come back around and be interesting, because it left off so poorly that it was nice to have it come back into a form as close as it could be to the original. So we're going to get into that, but yeah, it definitely wasn't always the shit show of a brand in the discount bin that you would now see at your local skate shop. Alright, so before I start getting too much into this, the whole goal here is not to say how bad is stereo. I don't want to get too into that. It's also a very easy thing to do. I just, maybe I'll get it out of the way right now. Okay, so later in the late 90s of stereo, they just had a team. I think it was different. It was harder to sell boards, and they went in a totally different direction from what they were, and they had some dudes on there that just didn't make sense for the theme of stereo. Not bad riders. I think they could have put them anywhere else. Pete Eldridge was on, Joel Meinholz, Dustin Dolan. There was people on there. Shane Hale. That was a weird one, but they were like, and that's what it was these weird dudes that made no sense on the team. Even, it was cool, Seth Cheeks was on it one time too, but it just didn't make any sense, again, with what the brand was. But if that's your sole income and you have to sell boards to make a living, for Chris Pastris, because, Jason Lee had acting, which I guess he could have just had the brand doing whatever. But Chris Pastris, I'm assuming, could be wrong, needed to sell boards, pay rent, all that stuff, so you kind of got to do what you got to do to stay around. Then there was 2.0 stereo, and the second version of it at the end, I don't know what the hell happened. Maybe they tried to keep it as cool as they could, and the sales weren't there, so they said, well, screw it again. I don't know, and you have Jordan Hoffart and Jesus Christ, yeah, it's in just some stupid graphics and just not even like a shell of what the brand was. Yeah, Yoshi Tannenbaum, whoever the hell that is, some kid who does like varial big heel flips or something, laser heel flips down like 50 stairs. I don't know. It's just it's not stereo. But before that and before the other run, we can focus on two great runs of the company, because usually when you make a comeback, it doesn't work out, and I really think it pretty much did. It definitely felt as close to the original stereo as it was going to be, so I just want to get into those from here on out, so no more bashing of stereo going forward. I promise. Alright, so I got a little sidetracked just thinking of what could have been, that Ryan Hickey and Bob Puglia were both on stereo. Just didn't end up in any of the videos. Would have been amazing. I think that would have been huge for the brand, but it is what it is. Stereo started in 1992 by Chris Pastris and Jason Lee. They felt there was a need for, a different kind of brand to be out there. This one's more jazz-inspired, classy. Definitely has an older feel. There wasn't anything like that out there at the time, so it definitely was needed. Also, I guess the downfall of something like this, had to have it keep morphing, is that this is more of an older crowd, and I don't know how many older people were skateboarding back in, the early 90s or whatever, but the people who got it, I think, appreciated it. Again, I was too young at the time to fully appreciate it, but there was parts I could take out of this video, and picking up a stereo board. I remember having one. So it wasn't like I wouldn't have bought the boards. I had a couple car shipment boards. Video really cool, very original. There's a lot of artsy, film shots in between the parts. But it's pretty cool how they incorporate the still photos, or I guess they still the clips in between. There was probably photos incorporated. Starts off with Mike Dahr, and if you watch the part, he's got some really cool stuff in there. Again, you got to remember this is, an earlier time, so it's not now. So again, some of the stuff you might be like, oh, that's all they did, but solid part. Carl Shipman, super dope, awesome part, my favorite part in the video. You got Matt Rodriguez, Greg Hunt, you got Chris Pastras, this is his best part, I think. And you got Ethan Fowler, who was crazy. I think he was like 16 years old in this video. He looks like he's like 35. And I remember just like not understanding, like, what is this dude wearing? I don't get it. And it's pretty crazy because now he just looks like a normal dude. Such a good skateboarder, the most naturally talented skateboarder, easily on the team. And then you have Jason Lee, this is his first part since Blind Video days, and it was definitely one that I watched a bunch. Just everything about it, his form is so good, and this is like, I guess, before he was full on going into an actor, so this was kind of like his last full solid part. But yeah, great video, great time in skating. And I think just because it was so different, it did, stayed around, and, people had an interest in it. All right, so up next is Can Folklore from 1996. I'm going to be honest, when this came out, I didn't even want to buy it. I had no interest in it anymore. Not to say that was the right decision, but I was so into World and stuff, and you see, like, I was like, guys, a flannel, I'm not buying that. It's pretty, I don't know, I guess there's a place for it. The music changed. It wasn't even like really jazz music. It turned into, I don't even know what else. It sounded like homemade video game music, half of it. Cool part though, starts off with like old footage of Dune as a kid skating with none other than Mike Vallely, so he actually made his way into this. And it goes into a modern Dune part. And you got Carl Shipman, you got Matt Rodriguez, Mike Frazier, who was in the other one too, but it's Vert. I'm not watching that. And then you got Matt Rodriguez, and then the ender. So Jason Lee ends the video, but it's his. I want to say it's almost like his sponsor me footage from when he was a kid. People could be bummed about that. I think there were some people that were bummed. I thought it was crazy just to see how antiquated the board was, but then like there was stuff he totally couldn't do because it was just like so new. He wasn't doing anything like a kickflip, and it's like whatever, you're like, oh. But when he skates these launch ramps, it's insane, like just how good he was at it. But yeah, this video, I think there's a place for it now, kind of. I watched it, and I was like, all right, this is way better than what I remembered it being. I also thought it was Tinkin Folklore, not Tin Can Folklore. Oops. But yeah, this was kind of like the beginning of the end of it, because everything was so world heavy, that whole, the hip hop image and all that. And then you had this brand, and it was kind of, Jason Lee wasn't really in it, so he was like a big draw, and it just kind of, I guess it had the writing on the wall. Hopefully it was a video they wanted to put out, but I don't know. And then after this went into the whole complete team change. So I guess after this, the sales started dropping, and then they reorganized the team, and bad idea. But, and I say but, after 99, shit hit the fan, done. We're going to fast forward now to 2004 with Way Out East. So Jason Lee and Chris Pastras are back. It's an artsy video, a little goofy at times. This is mostly them going on tour, going to these art shows, but they're also introducing new members of the team, and it was really amazing to see somebody like Ali Tadon, who was a super sick skater. I remembered him from Landscape, the British videos, And I feel like he could have fit in the original stereo, so it was really cool to see they were putting riders on in the direction of the brand now. And this was really cool. Like, all right, and they're back. And I remember when the first boards came out, they had, with the Rebirth, they had lo-fi and hi-fi boards. And the lo-fi boards were similar to the older boards that were really mellow kicked. And then there was hi-fi boards, which were steeper. And they also did this thing where Jason Lee and Chris Pastras would sign some of the boards. And I remember Skate Shop by Me would get them. And like the Chris Pastras boards weren't worth anything, but the Jason Lee boards were worth money. And I think it was supposed to be like only like one per shop or something. And somehow the Shop by Me had like 10 Jason Lee boards. And they didn't know. So I would keep buying them and put them on eBay, sell them for like $100 and come back and buy 2 more and sell them. It was a nice little hustle. I got to skate more that way, work less. Then we can fast forward after that to 2007, and it's like they started to assemble their team now, and they had a Journey Through Sound, which is a promo video that came out in 2007, adding people on, but it was sick. They had Daniel Shimizu on the team. They had a bunch of dudes they added in. Awesome. And I was like, all right, Stereo's kind of, they're back, you know. I don't know how much more. It seemed like there's too many people. And Danny Supa was on. A little weird, but it was cool. Had this French music that was enjoyable. But it was like an interest. It was good. It was a good, all right, the brand's back. They're doing what they got to do. And then I really don't know what happened after it started to kind of fall apart. I think a lot of people would leave. I don't know the inner workings of however that happens. I don't know if people were getting better offers, you know. And again, it's hard to run a brand, live a life, pay your bills off of it. So I'm sure there was, you know, it's difficult. But it was good to see the brand come back again and have a little short run of it still having a similar look to what it used to have. Like it didn't totally, you know, at the time anyway, go out, you know, with the 1999 version. So that's Stereo. When it was awesome, you know, in a nutshell. But I think I'm going to do a couple more of these on some other brands. But again, if you like what you hear, like, listen, subscribe. And I'll keep doing these. All right. Thanks for listening.